Hi everyone. So we're going live. I'm gonna go ahead and invite Jasdeep. Right. I sent the request over, so hopefully she will be joining us soon. Let's see if she joins us here. Hello. I see her online. Hopefully this connection's gonna go through. Thank you for hanging tight with us. Oh, the connection did not go through. Let me try inviting her again. Hopefully. Yes. Awesome. Hi, Jasdeep. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I'm glad the connection went through. I was worried there for a second.
No, I was just trying to fix my AirPods and those were also not connecting, but eventually managed. So
Yes, yes. That means this was meant to happen. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your. I know you're a busy woman, like we talked about last time. So I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us about this really interesting topic. I'm actually super excited to see where our conversation goes. So to our viewers, we have a lot of people coming and joining us. So today we're going to be talking about so me and just neighbor were both really passionate about mental health, and we talked about potentially talk about that topic, but we're going to jump a little bit outside of our comfort zones and both talk about another very important topic related to women's empowerment. So for those of you guys who haven't joined us on the series, we've been hosting me and Aruchi have both been hosting a series on Talking Wellbeing about women's empowerment. And I think, you really can't talk about women's empowerment without talking about cultural and gender expectations, right, of women's roles, perceived roles in society. And, me and Jasdeep, we have very different experiences in some ways and similar experiences in some ways. And we're going to discuss the nuances of that and for both of us, it's impacted our career, our outlook on our career, our life experiences. We're really going to delve into that. It's a very nuanced topic, and I'm super excited. But before we dive just deep into our experiences, can you briefly introduce yourself for our viewers?
yes, sure. Um, so I'm Jasdeep Mago. I am a neuropsychologist. I'm also a counselor. I run a mental health organization called Invisible Illness India. We were founded 4 years ago, and since then we have been working in the space of raising the right kind of awareness and providing solutions for the same on three verticals, which is corporate, schools, and on an individual level.
Awesome.
So, yeah, that's a gist of what I do and what we do as an organization.
Awesome, cool. And for those of you who don't know, I'm Anvita. I'm a wellness advocate with Talking Wellbeing. Outside of that, I work in HR. I work at a huge technology company, and really work there not only to promote, advocate for employees, but also advocate for mental wellness and wellness in general. And then I also do a lot of mental health advocacy work as well, just as a passion. Um, and yeah, so that's why I'm on here, and I'm super excited to be hosting the series because it gives me a chance to talk to really cool people like yourself, Justine. So without further ado, I would love to start with kind of what what is your perspective on cultural expectations and women's perceived roles in society, particularly South Asian society? What challenges do you think women experience today? And how do you think that role, how do you think the expectations for women have changed over the, last, whatever, few decades or so?
So I think, of course, earlier the expectation was to take care of the house and the children, like to be married to take care of the house and the children. I think now the expectation is to be an to be the everything, like you have to
Yeah.
be the all-rounder. You have to um, be able to cook, take care of kids, take care of the house,
Yeah.
and along with that also work and have a passion and have a drive that you want to go, like an ambition. Like now,
Mhm.
women are expected to have ambitions also,
Yeah.
which sort of complicates the scenario a little bit,
Mhm.
even more than before, because earlier it was like you were not allowed to have it, and now it's gone from not being allowed to now, why don't you have this, and then being
Yeah.
looked down upon for because of that. So I
Mhm.
think that's a pretty drastic contrast. And I know that this isn't the overall perception of it in every space, in every area, in every culture. I'm aware of that. Still,
Mhm.
in a lot of cultures, um, women are still not allowed or encouraged to, be ambitious or
Mhm.
study or be educated, of course. But the progression is now that women, and this is something that women expect from other women also. I see this happen a lot, which is,
Yeah.
if I'll see for example, I am a homemaker and I am taking care of my children. I will like go out and like socialize with my kids' friends' parents, and I'll be looked down upon for being a homemaker and having no like passion or ambition on the
Right.
side that I'm pursuing. So I think
Right.
that's something that women are also creating for other women.
Mhm.
Just another observation.
No, I think you bring up like a lot of really good points. I definitely agree that like, women just can't like somehow in the eyes of society, women can't do it right. We're never enough. We can never just exist as we want, right? And ideally, the expectations of men is like they can choose to be what they want. We don't get that freedom. We don't get that freedom to choose between our careers or being a homemaker, right? Like, what about what makes a woman happy? There's
Hmm.
neither is less. I think it really just what it should be up to the women, and it has to be a balance. I think in any partnership, whether that be between women and men, or women and women, or non-gender conforming individuals. Like it's very important to have that balance. And women have always been seen as not enough, and whether that's and now it's I think it's worse because there's two layers of it. Not only is it on the like the patriarchal system, right? And we get that pressure from men, but we also get that pressure from other women. It's internalized by a lot of women. I think, I don't even think some women sometimes realize when they're doing it, right? Those judgments are so internalized, and I think that's where it speaks to a systemic problem. Um, so how do you think that kind of very high standard for women, right? How do you think it's different in the South Asian community as compared to other communities, right?
Um,
Or do you think it's different at all?
it's different, of course, because our cultural heritage is very deeply rooted into a woman being somebody who is the caretaker of the house. And
Mm-hmm.
that is a privileged position to have also in a lot of South Asian cultures.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I say a lot of South Asian cultures because there are so many. So for
Yes.
me to call it a collective noun as a South Asian culture would be injustice. So I know that in each cultural pocket there are
Yep.
a lot of variations. And I do know that in India itself, like women take pride in being the
Mm-hmm.
homemaker, take
Yeah.
pride in being a mother that does not have a job. So I
Mm-hmm.
do see that as something as I take care of the house is my responsibility. I
Yes.
take care of everybody in the house. I raise my
Mm-hmm.
children, which is not looked down upon as much anymore, or
Yeah.
wasn't at a point either. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
I think westernization in the South Asian culture is what caused us to believe that that was a role that was not enough. And that's something I
Mm-hmm.
learned over time, that I in fact myself was raised to believe that you study for the to study.
Mm-hmm.
There's no pressure to
Yeah.
be something, to become something. There's no ambition. It's
Mm-hmm.
fine. You study to make friends, to go out, to pass your time, to have the experience of education and enjoy it. But
Mm-hmm.
we don't expect you to go out there and try to earn money or try to make something out of your
Right.
career. And it's okay. Like you can be married after you finish your education, you can get
Mm-hmm.
married and then again just have a relaxed life and take care of
Right.
the house. And that was never looked down upon. It was always put
Mm-hmm.
across to me like a privilege,
Yeah.
that you have the privilege to chill
Yeah.
out and
Mm-hmm.
uh, you know, uh, live your life in a more relaxed manner, and just take care of the
Yeah.
house. And that's that. And I never saw anything else as an option because this was always put
Mm-hmm.
across to me in such a appealing manner that I never saw
Yeah.
having an ambition as an option until I was exposed to the Western culture,
Mm-hmm.
until I went abroad and studied and realized that
Mm-hmm.
okay, I'm living in a bubble and there is something that exists outside of that bubble. And it sort of opened my mind to having that picture of or having the ambition or the dream to, do something with my education, not just study it, but like make some use of it. And I think
Yeah.
yes, of course, it was great to have that, to have my mind opened in that way. But secondly, I was also like,
Mhm.
so the conflict that it created internally in me was created by the clash of two cultures, nothing more.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
and my South Asian culture, my Indian heritage did not teach
Mhm.
me that I'm to be looked down upon just because I don't work. It was a point of privilege, which is how it
Right.
was put to me. So I think that was, I mean, the when I met the Western culture personally is when I was like,
Yeah.
wow, there is now a disparity between me and who I want to be now,
Mm-hmm.
versus how it was. So I
Right.
think, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I can relate to that, right? As an Indian American, right? I have parents who grew up in India, so they had, very much like my mom grew up with a lot of those same kind of learning, those same kind of having that modeled. Whereas I was not raised that way. I didn't see that modeled. Like when I, went to school and saw other women, I grew up under the impression that, oh, you have to have a career, that very westernized version. And that's how I was raised by my parents, was to pursue a career, and very strongly, in fact, I think, the great thing is that I was raised as an empowered woman. I have a younger brother, and there was never a disparity in terms of, like, my parents never told me like I should be any less relentless in pursuing my ambitions or dreams or goals. I was not less encouraged as compared to my brother. We were always treated equal in a lot of those terms, and I think that has influenced how I am today a lot in terms of like how I pursue things in life and in my career in general. But the other end of it is like sometimes I've seen that I feel like, sometimes it can be harmful if parents get too invested in their children's career. And I saw that a little bit earlier before I kind of made it in my mom's a sense in like getting my first job. She was very heavily invested in my career to the point where I would feel too much pressure. And sometimes that boundary wouldn't be there as much as like I feel like my dad had a better sense of that boundary to where he didn't. It almost sometimes felt like she was trying to vicariously live through considering pursuing my career. And I've asked her. So my mom's a homemaker, and I've asked her, was that a choice that you made, or was that kind of just something you fell into because that's how it was back in that generation? And she's definitely told me it was a choice that she made. Right? It was not. That's always at least what she's told me. But that lack of a boundary always made me wonder in my back of my head, was, is there a part of my mom that wanted to pursue a career and felt like she couldn't because of, any internal expectations? I think that's really interesting. I think another angle of that is, like I mentioned, I was always raised to be an empowered woman. I was never told like, go, choose what you want to do. And my mom, in her own right, has always role modeled independence, even as a homemaker, which I think is super cool, because my dad is a consultant, so he was always traveling. So in a sense, my mom had to do a lot of things by herself. He's always often gone like four days a week at least. So she had to raise me and my little brother by herself. So I think, like, my mom is one of those people that by herself, like, she's fine. She has a sense of independence and an ability to take care of herself. which I think is awesome. Very well educated woman too. So I've always looked up to her in that sense, and that like I've always seen that sense of role model or independence role modeled. And I think a lot of it comes from potentially living in the United States. I definitely think that factors in versus living in India. You know, me and my brother have always tried to be grateful for the role that she plays in taking care of the house just as much as the role that my dad plays in providing for us. You know, I think they both play critical roles in providing the life that we've been provided, just in different ways. And I've always seen them as equals. I've never seen, you know, my dad as like, oh, he's the breadwinner kind of thing. You know, I think they, like I said, I think that's both crucial functioning. And I think they've modeled a really healthy balance in terms of working together as a team to make the house function. And it's never been chaotic. And I'm very lucky that I've had that very healthy gender roles modeled to me. And I've never been told to like fit into a stereotype. It's been more like you find your way and you model that. So definitely very interesting experience being at the center of like a westernized culture, but also having, you know, my Indian background playing. So I can relate to that in some ways. And I've been exposed from a really early age just because I grew up here. I've been here since I was 10 months old. Here in the United States, because I know we have viewers from different places. So yeah, so I think, you know, I think it's really cool that we have a contrast in our backgrounds in some ways. And I'm curious, right? Because you mentioned, you know, when you went abroad, you mentioned that your kind of outlook changed. It like shaped your outlook in terms of like, there was kind of a disparity between what had been modeled to you while you were growing up, and then suddenly there's this whole other world that you've been exposed to, and this whole other way of being, almost the opposite. So how has that influenced where you've gotten to today and how you approach things like your career and other things that you do in life?
Um, I think I think when you've been exposed to the Western culture, uh, for us, we always call it as the Western culture, is um, uh, I mean, once you've been exposed to the concept of empowerment and independence, this is
Mm-hmm.
for anyone. This is not just for women,
Yeah,
and there's no going back.
yeah,
There is no going back because that's what empowerment is, right? It's
yeah,
empowering you. You can't go back from that.
right.
And I'm not saying that I wasn't empowered before. I just didn't know what empowerment was.
Right.
That's the difference. Like
Mm-hmm.
it was, I I was told that being in a point of privilege was empowerment,
Mm,
versus me wanting to do what I want to do is
right,
empowerment. Like I
right.
have the
Interesting. Okay.
freedom to choose,
Mm,
which is the distinction I learned in university, that
got
I
it.
get to choose.
Right.
I don't get to, yeah, being in a point of privilege is great, but I
Yeah.
still get to choose that whether I want to be in that point of privilege, or I want
Mm-hmm.
to go out and get a job, or whatever
Right.
it is,
Right.
like it is the liberty to have a choice. And
Mm-hmm.
and when you found that liberty
Yeah.
to have a choice, there is no going back. So I
Yeah.
definitely, it changed me completely, because
Mm-hmm.
I moved back from university thinking that I don't want to ever live in this country. Like I don't want to ever live in India,
Mm-hmm.
because I felt like I was surrounded by um just the just that, the how do I put this? I think I was constantly surrounded by the feeling of someone is not rooting for me.
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
uh, I, I mean, that's the best way I can put it right now. But yeah, I mean, it just constantly felt like an unsupportive environment. And this is not me talking,
Mm-hmm.
this is not me like singling out my family or my friends or
Mm-hmm.
anything like that. It was just the
Yeah.
cultural
Yeah.
overloom, like the
Mm-hmm.
cloud over my head, saying that,
Yeah.
this is not a supportive environment for you to succeed. Um, and I mean, of course, like I still went ahead and was like, okay, I'm gonna do what I do because I've spent a lot of money on my education, and
Yeah.
I should get the money's worth through something. And even if
Mm-hmm.
that means me
Yeah.
helping people, and
Yeah.
it's not being monetarily returned back to me, But
Yeah.
if it's being returned back through a cause, I'm
Hmm.
still okay with that.
Right.
And and that also, that the mindset that I am not capable of earning money was also
Mhm.
so embedded in me, because I was always told that you don't need to do it,
Yeah.
which in some version translates in your head to you can't do it.
Hmm.
Um,
Internalize it.
as in, of course, it was never directly told to me that you can't do it.
Right.
Never. But it was always implied that, but why do you need to do it? Like,
Right.
it's so unnecessary for you to do it. And,
Right.
it's not the woman's job to do it. So
Hmm.
chill.
Yeah.
And that over the years, whether consciously, unconsciously, subconsciously, it somewhere translates to you're not capable of doing it,
Mm.
which is why it's not expected from you.
Don't even try,
Um,
right? Don't even try.
yeah,
Why bother?
exactly. So
Yeah.
I think that was still something I really struggled with. Even though I was working, I was still unable to ask for money for the work I
Mm.
was doing.
Okay.
I felt like I was undeserving of it. I felt like
Mhm.
someone else can be paid and it will be better. But I felt like
Yeah.
I was undeserving of of the money. And it took me a very long time it took me around 3 years to actually ask for money that
Okay. Yeah.
was equivalent to the worth of my work or
Hmm.
the worth of my education and my
Yeah.
qualifications. And I mean, I always convinced myself saying that I'm not in this for the money. I'm not in this for the money. But, it was somewhere a rationalization I was creating for myself, because I felt
Hmm.
like I'm not
Yes.
capable of earning the money, so I'd rather believe
Why
this
ask?
than anything else.
Right.
And
Right.
I learned that. I learned and understood that about myself. And I mean, I think it's a journey, because it's so,
Yeah.
like, it's something that is a
Mhm.
pattern that needs to be, it's so, like, like we said, it's so systemic that it's
Yeah.
so deeply rooted within us
Yeah.
also, because it's that systemic.
Yeah.
And to break out of that pattern, uh, it's really, really, really difficult. And of course, I believe it's a lifelong journey. I believe that I'm
Yeah.
not going to reach a point anytime soon saying that I'm absolutely empowered and I believe that I deserve
Hmm.
this and I deserve that. To some degree, I still feel like I don't. To some degree, I
Yeah.
still feel like I
Hmm.
still don't need to earn money, that's
Yeah.
still the man's job. So I'm
Yeah.
still fighting that internal battle.
Yeah. No, I really struggle with that too. I've always, and this is something I really think about being very fresh in my career. I think I'm about 2 years into my current role, and I'm always thinking about, like, am I asking for what I deserve? Am I being compensated? I can almost over index on giving a lot of myself to any role that I do at my own expense. And I've never been money driven. It's never been my primary purpose. Like, I will never compromise working on my purpose for more money. That's always something I'm not internally motivated by money only. But there's still a part of me, I have financial goals. For me, there's a certain lifestyle that I'd like to be able to provide my future family and provide myself. And um, there's a certain amount that I feel, I think slowly I've started, like, through validation from especially other women leaders. I was lucky enough that I had a very empowered woman as a manager in my first role. And to me, seeing her and having that, again, I think this goes back to, like, having role models, and seeing women in leadership positions is so important, because I saw her, like, she helped me recognize the value that I bring to a job, period. And I'm still learning, I'm still learning, one, how to really, again, be true to my needs and speak up for my needs. Unfortunately, women are often seen as aggressive, or like, too much for things that are seen as confidence in men, because God forbid that a woman has the same level of confidence, or a woman might be more capable for a certain role, regardless of her gender. So, like, that that is, so, again, same as you. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to reach a point in my life where I'm just going to completely be like, I deserve the same thing as my male equivalent. I really don't. And there is definitely a wage gap still for women. And that, that is something I personally really want to work against as an HR professional. That's something I hope to be able to make a difference in. I think the other thing to recognize is me and you are both in fields where you will see more women in the workforce, but I think it's very important. We talked about this. I think it's so important to realize that just because there's more women employees does not mean that women don't deal with a lack of privilege or like a difference still. I mean, you look at the women in leadership positions, there's always less women in leadership positions. I don't care what field you're talking about, to be honest. So, and I'm sure you could comment because we talked about, I'd love if, as much as you're comfortable sharing, if you can talk about some of the challenges you've had due to gender disparities in, your work with invisible illness.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree to what you just said, especially the last point that you made. You know, uh, a lot of people think that, oh, but this is a female-dominated industry. I said being outnumbered, like us outnumbering men is not the point. Like, it's not even
It's never.
about that. It's not about us being more in number.
Uh-uh.
The, it's about the very, very culturally rooted belief that we are still below men, in
Mm-hmm.
every respect, in capability, in caliber, in strength, in every respect, in intelligence, in whatever
Yeah.
you name it. The
Yep.
belief that women are still inferior in to men,
Mm-hmm.
in no matter what the job is, whether it's
Yeah.
female dominated or not.
Yep.
So I mean that's something that happened. I mean that's something that's an experience that one of the experience that I faced while working uh, towards building a subsidized mental health clinic was that
Mm-hmm.
the organization we were building it with um, had two issues with me. One that I was a woman, and the other one was that I was in my 20s.
Oh my gosh.
So so I was facing two different kinds of
Discrimination.
discrimination
Yes.
altogether.
Gender and
Um,
age. Oh my gosh.
yeah, and and I would always like in every meeting, in every step of the way,
Yeah.
I was made to believe that I will fail at setting up this clinic. I will fail at setting up the clinic. And
Yeah.
this was reiterated in
Mm-hmm.
several forms and ways to me and my
Mm-hmm.
colleagues because we were
Yeah.
a team of four women
Mm-hmm.
and um, four women who have very high qualifications in the work
Mm-hmm.
that we do.
Yeah.
A very
Yeah.
amazing
I remember we
experience.
talked and I was like, you're such a smart, educated woman, just think.
Yeah, so we're like extremely educated women.
Yes.
Um, uh, we collectively may have studied more than the entire system that we were trying to fight against.
Wow.
And I'm not joking about that.
Oh, I
And
100% believe you.
yeah. And we were constantly every step of the way told, it's just not worth it. Like, let's just shut it. It's not going to ever work. It's never worked
Toxic.
before. Why do you think you're different? We were always made to believe that we were not worthy of even basic things like stationery. So, like if we would come into the clinic and we would be sitting in the
Mm-hmm.
cabin to like they would always come and like if I would say like, okay, I have no stationery in my cabin, can I
Yeah.
get some stationery? Because it was in an organization, so it was obviously um,
Mm-hmm.
there was a system in place, but that system was
Yeah.
separate for us and separate for everyone else.
Yep. Yep.
Uh, and honestly, like over time, I just got progressively more and more determined
Mm-hmm.
to prove them wrong. So I was just like, I'm gonna go out of my way completely to make this clinic a success.
Yeah.
And we did. After a year, after 2 years, it got to a point where we were making the most money for that clinic, even in a subsidized.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I can still see you. Can you still see me? Oh no, no, that's fine. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, yeah,
Okay, cool. This connection's good. Okay, awesome. I
yeah.
can still see you. So.
Okay, great.
So you were talking about how you guys were collectively making more money for the clinic.
Yeah, so I mean, after 2 years, they sort of realized that, okay, these girls have like really worked hard. Like after every 4 or 3 months, they would come to us and be like, so should we shut it? The traffic of patients is so low. People aren't coming. You're not being able to make a difference. You're not being able to get any money into the organization, this, that, and all. So we were
Mhm.
just like, give us some more time. It's mental health.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not like I put a general practitioner into the clinic and he has a flow of people coming in. It doesn't work like that. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
regular cough and
Yep.
cold. It's going to take a lot of
Exactly.
groundwork for us to be able to get an inflow
Yeah.
of clients.
Mm-hmm.
And after 2 years, like, we had no like openings. Like I remember my calendar being booked. Like I was just one of the therapists that would sit at the clinic, and
Wow.
there were four more,
Yeah.
and I did not have an opening for the next 3 months. I had
Look at
taken that
that.
many appointments, and it was just, honestly, that was the real feeling of empowerment, because I
Yeah.
realized that I can do this despite their uh, you know non-cooperation. I can do it, and
Mm-hmm.
they didn't cooperate with us at all. Like
Yeah.
they used to treat us badly. They would not listen to our requests. They would always delay all of the things we needed. They would give out our
Mm-hmm.
room for all the random things possible and be like, okay, today we are doing this in your cabin, and this is your, like, they were not, it was just unfair treatment, and it was
Yeah.
every step of the
And it
way.
was
Like, it
blatant too. It wasn't even subtle. It was like, no, we would
no,
just no shame.
no, it was absolutely blatant. I at one
Yeah.
point was told that, someone in the organization wants you to shut the clinic so badly that they're making your life hell. I was told this by
Oh my gosh,
somebody.
that's appalling.
Yes,
Not
I was
surprising, but appalling.
This was literally in these words said to me by a very senior executive in the organization, that they are making it difficult for you because they want you to leave. And I just didn't understand it. Like, I just did
Yeah.
not understand it.
Yeah, sometimes it's like, how are people so cruel? Like, where does this sense of, I mean, I know where the sense of entitlement comes from, but it shocks me sometimes. It's like, who do you think you are? Honestly, just completely, like, not mincing my words. There are a lot of men that I've encountered, where personally and at work and everything, where that is what I want to shout at. Like, literally, I want to shout, like, who do you think you are? How do you think you're better just because you were born in a gender? Like, how do you think that makes you more capable or whatever? But again, backing off my chip on my shoulder. But back to your story, what what was it that you said it made you more determined, right? I think that's so hard to sustain, right? They put all these obstacles in your way, and you're like, no, I'm just gonna work harder to make what I want to happen. What kept you going? What was that? How did you empower yourself through that process? Because that's really what it sounds like you were doing.
Honestly, it had very little to do with what I was going through, and a lot
Mm-hmm.
to do with what my colleagues were also going through.
Mm.
And then beyond that, it was a lot to do with the purpose of mental health,
Yeah.
just like, I was like, if I lose and I stop here and I quit and give up
Mm-hmm.
in this scenario, then where is the future of mental health? Like, what am I then
Gotcha.
striving towards?
Right, right,
Why
right.
am I even bothering with my
Yes.
organization? Or why am I even
Right.
bothering to why did I bother getting an
Yeah.
education? Like, that's what it sort
Exactly.
of brought to me, that
Yeah.
if I'm not going to be able to overcome some uneducated people, I'm never going to succeed in my life, because I'm
Yeah.
every step of the way going to meet people who are arrogant and uneducated, and that is the worst combination to have. Uh,
Exactly.
so I just it was like, if I lose now, then I should stop. Like, I should not
Right.
even bother, moving ahead with my other
Mm-hmm.
plans, because if I can't fight this, then there's no point. And
Yeah.
seeing the way my colleagues were treated was
Mm-hmm.
also something that really drove me, because I was like, me
Right.
being treated like that, I will take. But the people I have employed, I have brought them into the
Mm-hmm.
organization. If they are being treated like that because of me, that I can't take, because I
Yeah.
can't. I can't be the cause for someone to face discrimination. So
Mhm.
that's a responsibility that I like self-proclaimed.
Yeah.
But but I think that these are the two things that mainly kept me going. And of course, like my Buddhist practice was something that really
Ah,
drove me, because I would chant for this
yeah.
all the time, being
Mhm.
like, this is not something that's gonna keep me from
Right.
succeeding in
Yeah.
life. Like this is not it. And I think this was the
This,
first
uh-uh.
time I was
Yeah.
consciously aware that I was being um discriminated against because I'm a woman.
Mm,
It was the
yeah.
first time in my life I was consciously
Mm-hmm.
aware of that. Like, apart from that, if it's ever happened to me before, I did not even notice it,
Right.
because it was so normal to me that it
Mm-hmm.
didn't matter.
Yeah.
But when this happened, I was just like, no.
Yeah. No, it's interesting because as you're talking, I was kind of thinking like, when did I consciously realize or have a moment of like discrimination? I think the first time I became aware of it really was when I was an engineering student, as I mentioned to you, in college. And, I was in biomedical engineering. Again, going back to like, and even if I told people like I was concerned, I was like, I'm going to a university that has a reputation for being progressive. And, I didn't, I was hoping, I was very idealistic in terms of like, I hope I don't get discriminated against, but I'm worried about it. This is something that I might be because I'm a woman, and not only that, but I'm a woman of color, which adds a layer, in a westernized country. And I was like, I'm not going to face it. And, a lot of my worries were really invalidated because, oh, like biomedical engineering has more women than men. And again, I went back to the point of like, that's not the point. That is not the point, especially in a field like engineering. That's not the point. I still think my concerns are valid. And lo and behold, and the worst part is about this experience is that I couldn't say for certain, but basically what happened was I was in a engineering lab with a professor who, um, all of a sudden, like, so, we had partners that we worked with in labs, and we often had to write group lab reports, but we had to submit them separately. So they had to be like different, but we did the labs together. And one day this is later in my third year of university, where I woke up to an email in my inbox saying that I had been reported for plagiarism. And this was a complete surprise. I didn't know what happened. Like, the professor had not said anything to me. It was just in my inbox. And I was very puzzled. And I had this, I went through a very traumatizing process in terms of like, I had to go to the office and have all these hearings. And I'm over here sitting like, the lab report in question, me and my partner had done them completely separately. Like, we were literally in separate apartments. We were not even physically in the same space. We did not share any files. Like, it was undisputedly not plagiarism. Like, circumstantially speaking, there's no way we could have plagiarized. And unfortunately, the women who was doing the hearing basically assumed, usually it's innocent until proven guilty. It felt like the opposite. It felt like I was guilty until proven innocent without reasonable doubt. And it was very traumatizing. But that wasn't, for me, the aspect of the gender discrimination came in when, this professor had a reputation for reporting students for small things. And, if at least if you treated everyone the same way, then it's like, okay, at least there's some consistency. But guess what? Guess who got to meet with him? So I requested a meeting with him. When I first got this email, I requested a meeting with the professor, did not get it, was told you have to go through the office. Like, I don't do meetings. The professor said this word for word, I don't do meetings because I've had issues with students in the past. I was like, okay, fine. I guess that's like, if you've had a bad experience, I can see why you might, try to use the official system. But then lo and behold, I find out that a lot of the male students had gotten hearings, and that to the white male students. And that, to me, I was just like, I lost respect. I can't respect someone who's going to treat me differently. And again, I can't actually point. A lot of this is hearsay, and things that I heard. I don't have it written in an email or something. So obviously, you know, the struggle is I can't go to someone and be like, I am being discriminated against. Even my partner was a white woman. Even she got treated better than I did in that situation, even though she was my partner. Like, I really got the worst of it. And I was, you know, that was my first experience of gender discrimination, really. And I still remember it to this day, you know, like when I think about it, I'm like, I remember the anxiety that I went through that semester that impacted everything else. And I, like, you know, it makes me mad. I'm like, that was unfair. Like, I had a severe disadvantage and it impacted other aspects of my experience. It could have impacted things that I like, academic results, all sorts of things, right? But at the end of the day, you know, I think it's made me stronger, and it's actually almost like you said, it's made me more determined to break gender stereotypes and role model to other women that no, you can have a career, and I want to get to a leadership position. And I think it just fuels my dreams more, you know, and also in terms of like choosing what I want to do, right? And I'm open to, you know, I don't see this happening honestly because I've been so career oriented, but like if at some point I decide, you know, that I want to stay at home with my children and stuff, I've given myself, I'm open to that. You know, I don't define myself as a career-oriented woman anymore. I think right now in my career, right now in my life, I'm career-oriented, but I think again, I've that freedom of choice. I think, and that I think defining empowerment is super important. You know, I don't think empowerment is you have to be this or that. Empowerment is the freedom of choice, and you know, modeling that for women, and someone has to set the example. And I think that's what you were doing. You know, it's hard. It's really hard to be that first one to set the example, but it's also really powerful to be able to role model that for other people. So I think it's
I
really
mean,
cool.
I think with your experience, of course, the fact that you're a woman was a big concern, but the fact that you were a brown woman
Yes.
was a bigger concern.
Yes.
You know, so for me, that's like the exact, I mean, that's like so many layers
Mm-hmm.
of issues
Yeah, no,
that
it is. It is.
can't even begin to start to
Unpack.
unravel and peel them,
Yeah.
you know, because there's so many layers of it. And
Yeah.
that definitely is a very traumatizing moment because it's
Yeah.
I mean, you're made to feel like you are not worthy of
Mm-hmm.
uh, of a hearing, or you know, of
Yes.
just the same amount of equality or justice as anybody else.
Yes.
You're made to feel like you're not worth that. So I
Mm-hmm.
think that somewhere, you know, like when you said it creates anxiety, I can totally understand that because
Yeah.
it creates a sense, like, you know, it starts to interfere with your own belief about
Yeah.
yourself. And
Yeah.
now you're fighting that. You're fighting the fact that this is what I believe and this is what the world around me believes. And now which
Yeah.
one is true? And I'm now at loggerhead with these two beliefs. And
Yeah.
trying to
Exactly.
prove one or not prove the other, or whatever
Mm-hmm.
the equation is there. That I think is a really hard journey.
Yeah.
Um, and it's really sad that every single woman I know has been through this. And
Exactly. You know, I don't think I've talked to a single woman that has not had some degree of microaggressions thrown at her, some degree of, you know, experiences like very blatant discrimination that goes unpunished and go not, I don't want to say unpunished, but just like unaddressed, really, is what I mean. Like, you know, it just, there's, you know, there are people like me and you talking about it, but like, I think this is some point we need male allies. We need men to step up and advocate for women, right? Because they're the ones in power, and they you know, again, it comes to like with men. I you know,
even just hearing you say that makes me, it's just the irony in that is just amazing, right? Like
right?
even for that, we need a man.
Yes, I know,
Uh,
right? And
even
that's not to
even
say,
for our own empowerment, we need a man. So
oh my gosh,
I think just the patriarchy in this whole scenario is just, like I said, it has so many layers that at what point you reach what level, you're not even there's no count, and there's no progression.
I know.
It almost seems like we're in a maze where we're all just trying to find a way out, and
Yeah.
nobody has a clue except
Thank
a
you,
man.
patriarchy. Thank you, patriarchy, for creating this maze, because I was gonna be, because you are afraid of feminine power, but that is just me being me. But no, but I think, you know what gives me hope though is I'm lucky enough that I have a lot of males who are like great role models in terms of like seeing me as an equal. My dad is the best example. You know, I'm very fortunate that I've had a dad who's never seen me as less because I'm a girl. You know, he's always treated me as equal. He's always seen my capabilities as equal. And I think for me, that's been huge in terms of like empowering myself. I'm lucky enough to have male friends now who also see me as equals, and they see my dreams as equal, and they empower me. So, you know, there are men out
But I
there.
have an interesting question there.
Yes.
Would they still see you, and this is for your friends, not your father.
Yes. Uh-huh.
But would your friends still see you as an equal if you were not pursuing what you're pursuing? What if you were doing fashion? Would they still see you as an equal?
I can't answer that question. You know, I would actually be interested in talking to women in fashion, or, you know, some career like that. I honestly can't speak to that. I reckon it might make a difference. I wonder. Now it's like I almost want to ask them, like, so what do you think of me pursuing fashion? Like one day, like I'm
So,
pivoting into fashion, or
so
you
it's
know,
very interesting because this is
yeah.
something I've noticed in my own friend circle,
Mm,
is that up till the point that I was studying arts and psychology,
yeah.
nobody had respect for it
Okay.
at all.
Oh gosh.
And then when I started working, and I started Invisible Illness, is when the respect began.
Mm,
Uh,
mm.
from my male friends or even my female friends,
Okay.
like it, because feminism, I mean, forget feminism, patriarchy is so embedded that like over here women, I mean, we believe it. Like
Yeah,
we
it's
think it's
internalized.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so internalized.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And now I see this happen with my closest friends, is that
Yeah.
just because she's in a creative field of designing clothes,
Mm-hmm.
she does not have the same mental respect as I do, for example, only because she's not a successful label yet, but she's doing it in a different manner for herself and in
Yeah.
different ways, freelancing.
Yeah.
That does not have the same respect as somebody who is now running a company. Um, so
Because, you know, God forbid women choose their own paths. I think that's the problem. I think when women fall into the paths that were modeled by men, then it's fine, you know, right? And this is even more heightened in South Asian community because we have this uh, or not we, I should say, society has painted, in South Asian society, it's been painted this idea of an ideal career, right? And there's only a couple fields that are really the most valuable. If you're not doing that, then you're not really successful. But even beyond that, I feel like when women, and I don't know why, but I feel like people are scared of women who pave their own paths because suddenly they're breaking your, like, other people's expectations don't have power anymore. They're breaking that, and they're breaking that cycle of power that's been, you know, reinforced over generations and decades. So that's what it is, and that's unfortunate that, you know, they have to pull those women down. But to all women who, you know, forge their own path, I have so much respect. I have so much respect for your friend to like do it her own way and in a way that she wants to pursue it. That's really,
I
really
mean,
great.
honestly, it's definitely taken a toll on her,
Yeah.
self-worth, to believe that now she believes that I was better off working at EY because at least I was respected by my own family, versus now making clothes, which I want to do, but I don't have any respect. Uh,
Wow.
so she's
That's
still
insane.
struggling with it. She still struggles
Yeah.
with it in the sense that because her work is not seen as as oh my God, you have capabilities. It's just seen as,
Mhm.
oh, you're a woman, you know fashion, you're making clothes. Literally.
It's
So
not, you know, because it's like, oh, of course, that's like a woman's field. You know, of course she went into that.
exactly.
You know, she didn't try to go into a male field. so she's not capable enough. Like, it's assumed that she's not going into it because she's not capable enough, not that she has these fantastic talent and capabilities in a
Yeah.
field that's really hard to go and get into in its own right. Yeah, I'm just really sad to hear that it's impacting your self-esteem so much, because I personally, I just want to go up to her and be like, I have so much respect for you. And so going back to like empowering women, how do you think we empower women, right? When these things take such a toll, and it's so much emotional labor that women have to go through to even bring themselves to the point where they feel worthy of pursuing their full potential or forging their own paths. So, and especially, as you in your role as a neuropsychologist, and like, your work like with invisible illness, like, how do you feel like we should empower women? Because these systemic barriers aren't going anywhere anytime soon, unfortunately. So how do we do that?
Um, I don't know what the right answer is here because I don't think there is one answer.
Yeah.
Uh, but I do think that um, in every small way that we can, like, I will never not advertise my success because I
Mm-hmm.
believe that the world needs to see it.
Yes.
Even if it seems unmodest and not humble, and it seems like I'm tooting my own horn, I
Mm-hmm.
will never not say it. I will never
Yeah. Of
not put it up on Instagram if I've been featured, if I or anything.
course. Yeah.
I will never allow that mindset to make my success feel small.
Yes.
Um, and I'm saying this like it's very easy, but it takes a lot. It takes
Yeah.
a lot to actually do that because
Mm-hmm.
you are made to believe that this is not success. It's
Right.
a stupid thing that you have achieved. And
Mm-hmm.
you are made to believe that this your startup is not making X amount of
Mm-hmm.
money, or it doesn't have X amount of funding.
Right.
Uh, but at the same time, I am somewhere trying to find the courage to be like,
Yeah.
yes, I know that's not happening yet.
Yeah.
I know that
Right.
that's
Right.
not
Right.
happening yet.
Yes.
But
Yes.
you don't forget the yet. You don't forget that
Yes.
there are smaller
Exactly.
milestones that I am reaching, and
Yes.
that I am achieving,
Yeah.
which may not be seen, but I will show you. I
Yeah.
will show
Yeah.
you.
No. And I think it's really important to like define. It's okay to define your success, right? I think for me, that's been the thing, is I'm allowed, just because my success doesn't look like how you think success should look like, doesn't mean it's not progress, it's not success. I think, I feel like someone who can, get to a point, and again, this is not easy, and this is not even something I'm even close to being perfect at or anything, I want to definitely say that. But if you can get to a point where you can define your own success, and you can, I say, take up your own space, wherever that is, do it on your own terms, and get the courage to keep doing that consistently. That's an
Hmm.
empowered woman right there. That is empowerment, is like, and I want to tell every woman, everyone, every individual who's watching this, woman or not, define your own success, define your own success, forge your own path. You do you, you
Yeah,
know
absolutely. I completely agree. I completely agree to that, that it's so important for us to define our own success, and
mm,
that can be anything. It
yeah,
can be anything. So yeah,
exactly.
that's amazing. Yeah, for sure. That's a great thought for us to leave people on.
And before Instagram kicks us off, well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Steve, for this very empowering discussion in the theme of today's live. I really appreciate you taking the time again to join us. Your insights have been super awesome. Thanks to everyone who's joined us live. We got quite a few people. I think at one point we had like 10 or 12, which is fantastic. I hope people took away things, different things from this. Just so everyone knows, this will be posted. So in case you couldn't tune in live, this will be on the feed of Talking Wellbeing. Again, thank you again, Jasdeep. This is great. And with that, I'd like to say
Thank you
good
so much.
night and have a rest of your day, depending on. And thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun. And I'll
Yes,
speak to you soon.
sounds good. Thank you, Jasdeep. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Bye.